All right. So we've discussed how individual earnings evolve over time, and they're driven by factors like education, experience, and diminishing human capital investments over time. But these individual patterns don't exist in isolation. They combine across workers and across the entire economy to shape broader earnings distributions across the entire labor market. Now, what we're going to do is zoom out and we're going to look at the bigger picture, how earnings vary across workers at a single point in time, and what factors contribute to this variation. Questions like why do some workers earn significantly more than others? And how do education, training, or unionization affect wage inequality? This brings us to the topic of the earnings distribution. Differences in human capital accumulation, job characteristics, and career choices lead to variation in earnings among workers of the same age or the same education level. For example, some workers invest more in education, while others gain specialized skills on the job. This creates diverse wage outcomes. The income distribution often has what we call a right skewed shape, meaning that people earning in the lower to middle ranges, and then there's a long tail representing the high income earners. So there are a lot of people earning on the low side and kind of in the middle. And then on the high side, there's very, very few people. But some of them earn a lot, so it really stretches out to the right. It's America, so the people on the left side of the income distribution live a good life compared to the rest of the world. But at the same time, they earn a lot less than people way out on the right tail, those really high earners. Now, this doesn't show the whole picture. Remember, it's just a snapshot. This is one period in time. And for each worker, there's going to be a lot of movement over time. Remember with that age earnings profile, you start out very low, but then quickly increase your wages over time. So for instance, there's a lot of younger workers down here on this end of the photo. Over time, as they get older, they're going to move up here. They may not be the highest earners when they're starting out down here, but they will move up in this direction. So this kind of overstates the amount of inequality in society in general or in the labor market. But it is important to note that 40% of workers will be in the top 10% of income earners for at least 1 year in their working life. So there is quite a bit of movement up and down throughout the income distribution over time. We aren't Europe after all. People aren't destined to spend their entire career in their same life in the same place on the income distribution in the same place and the whole social standing in their society. People move up and down all the time. Families are always rising and falling in America. So wage differentials exist due to two main factors that we're going to talk about: human capital investments. And these are going to vary from worker to worker, talking about education and then even training on the job. Both of those can be used by workers to develop their human capital in a way that makes them more productive. More productive workers tend to earn more money. There's also going to be age differences. Younger workers are still accumulating that human capital, while older workers have already built up all those skills and experience. And at this point, they're collecting the returns from earlier investments. Now, there is a positive correlation between ability and human capital investments. So this is going to kind of stretch out those wages and it's going to spread out that income inequality and create the income inequality. Now, one way that we measure income inequality in a society, whether it's at the state level, the national level, however, is the Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient is simply a number between 0 and 1 that measures income inequality. For the coefficient 0, that means perfect equality. Everyone in society earns the exact same amount of money. And 1 means perfect inequality. There is one person who earns everything and everyone else earns literally nothing. Both of these are very hard to imagine in the real world, and every other society lands somewhere between those two extremes. The Gini coefficient is a common tool to compare income inequality across countries or over time. So on the graph here, you have this straight diagonal graph here. This is very important. This is perfect equality, where every single worker earns the same amount of income. The Gini coefficient measures how much the actual income distribution curve deviates from this line. So this actual Lorenz curve right here, this is the actual line for net income distribution in society. This line right here is the perfect theoretic, perfect equality one. This difference, this shaded area right here, is going to be the Gini coefficient. Now, the more it deviates, the farther this line stretches from this perfect equality line, the more unequal the income distribution is in society. So the more it deviates, the higher the Gini coefficient and the greater the inequality. In the US, the Gini coefficient is relatively high compared to other developed countries, which means there's a wider gap between the high income earners and the low income earners. However, anytime you're comparing across countries, it's going to be difficult to get the numbers exactly right. And often these measures don't count government transfers, especially the people on the lower end of the income distribution. Once we include them, the US actually has a lower Gini coefficient than many other countries, which is pretty surprising. Whether you're on the right or the left, um, either side, whether you're really concerned about income equality or don't care about income inequality, both of those people tend to be surprised when they hear that the US has lower Gini coefficient than most other countries once we count government transfers.